Army football began 1984 a major puzzle. In the past 5 years, the cadets had won only 14 games, never beaten Navy, and were now playing under their third head coach. Quite simply, nobody gave them much of a chance. But the experts were fooled, for how could they know of the loyalty and pride that would bring this team together, of the senior leadership that would sustain it, or the courage that would take it to heights never dreamed possible? How could anyone understand that this team would adapt so quickly to a new offense, defy the experts, and when it was all over, make Army football a winner again?
Unset, unset.
Coming around, Carl.
Yeah. That's it.
It is never easy to install a new offense.
Good job.
But a year ago, head coach Jim Young decided a new look was vital for the growth and success of Army football. The new concept was the wishbone offense.
Hey, yeah. Get in the end.
After going through spring practice with the wishbone, I really feel that it best fits what we can do here. We've been pleasantly surprised with Nate Sassman at quarterback, who has the ability to execute the option. And I think our linemen are much more comfortable aggressively firing off the football as opposed to being a passive pass protection blockers.
Or split.
Army took to the wishbone like cadets to a weekend pass.
Louis, 107 on one, ready for it. Come on, man.
A new positive attitude emerged from fall practice and became evident in Army's opening game with Colgate. Not only was the option offense new, but also the men who made it go. Nate Sassman, quarterback, decision maker, was a defensive back in 1983. But he was one step ahead of Doug Black. The big fullback was playing his first college football game ever. As a matter of fact, not one backfield starter had played a single down at his position in 1983. So devastating was the new offense that Sassman, Black, and William Lampley each gained over 100 yards, a first for Army football. Not to be outdone by the revitalized offense, the defense exploded with a fury all its own, allowing the visitors just 19 yards on the ground. The debut of the wishbone was a smashing success. Army's 41 points were as many as they had scored in any game since 1980. But time to celebrate was brief. Just ahead lay the first major challenge for this new cadet team. Undefeated Tennessee in front of 90,000 partisan fans. Senior quarterback Nate Sassman, ECAC Player of the Week for his 123 yards and 2 touchdowns against Colgate, led the cadets into Tennessee 20-point underdogs. Were the Volunteers in for a surprise? After Doug Black's second straight game over 100 yards and Nate Sassman's first touchdown pass from the wishbone, Army had more than held its own during the first 55 minutes of action. Then, trailing by 7 points, the cadets began an 80-yard march that would epitomize the pride and poise of this 1984 Army team.
In the wishbone, Sassman goes back, fakes, rolls out, gonna get hit, gets away, throws downfield, that's Dickerson, 45-yard line, up to the 46. In the wishbone, big third down and 6. Sassman looks to throw, throws for White, has him to He's hit. Now he's at 30. Down to the 25-yard line. Army first down at the Tennessee 25. In the wishbone. 3rd and 2 at the 17 of Tennessee. And it's a give to Black. He has a first down down near the 14-yard line. Stand by, folks. Going to be a big finish. 1:28 left. 24 to 17. Here comes Army. Pitches back to Lampley. He's going to get to the 20, to the 10, to the 5, down to the 1-yard line. Lampley at the 1-foot line goes out of bounds. It's first and goal, Army. 1:20 left. Sassaman on the count. Face the Black. Carries it in. Sassaman keeps. Face the Black. Touchdown. Tennessee favored by 20 points. This Army team has come to play.
That, for the team, was a huge confidence builder because we were playing a really good football team with a big reputation. And to come back in the 4th quarter and down a touchdown and going 80 yards with under 2 or 3 minutes, it was just super for our team and for the offense to just give us confidence.
The tie with bowl-bound Tennessee proved Jim Young's team could play against anybody, anywhere in America. At home, a swarming defense pounded the Duke Blue Devils, setting up Army's explosive wishbone. And Doug Black became the first cadet runner in 30 years to gain over 100 yards 3 straight games. The imposing threat of Black opened up the defense for misdirection plays. With Scott Spellman's speed and the blocking of interior linemen Carl Heineman, Vince McDermott, Ron Rice, Don Smith, and Dave Woolfolk, Army's new ground game was proving to be one of the most prolific in West Point history. After 3 weeks, Army was undefeated and enjoying its best start in 18 years. When Harvard visited Michie Stadium, so did college football's newest adventure, the Wave. With another capacity crowd joining the fun, the cadets waved at the visitors with the receiving threat of Benny White and the outside speed of Dee Bryant. The big play cadet defense saw Jim Jennings bust the ball loose and Mike Tease recover, setting up a Sassaman to Rob Dickerson touchdown. As the cadets added Harvard to its undefeated record, Army's offense had gained more yards on the ground through just 4 games than it had in all of 1983. While the new offense gained headlines, the senior-dominated defense gained respect. Up front, men like Jim Jennings, number 93. Nose guard Rob Ulsis, number 46. And Brad Allen, Kurt Gutierrez, Lloyd Walker, and Mike Sears nailed enemy runners. Brilliant linebacker play from number 55, Jim Gentile. And John Roney, number 54, confused and frustrated visiting backs. In the secondary, number 37, Kermit McKelvey, along with Eric Griffin, Bob Silver, Doug Pavick, and Mike Tease, denied the long strike. As a team, this Army defense was like a missile seeking a target. With the Corps of Cadets caught up in the excitement of Army football, the defense continued its aggressive play through a frustrating 7-point loss to Rutgers. Army's first defeat of 1984 came only after an apparent tying touchdown was called back when Scott Spellman's foot narrowly touched the boundary line. After 5 games, Army was 3-1-1, and the Ivy League's top team was next. It was evident during this homecoming that a new spirit of enthusiasm had emerged at West Point. The Cadet Corps, graduates, and the team shared a common bond that lifted Army football over the adversity of the past few years. These men had come together wearing the black and gold. And this day, the nation found out Army could run with anyone. "31 first downs, 470 yards total offense." And Coach Jim Young saw more dramatic evidence during the Penn game that the wishbone was a perfect match for the personality and skills of this Army football team.
It was just one of those situations where each play you run in the triple option was working the way it was supposed to, and it dug Black exactly what you need as a fullback to hit inside and make that extra yard and keep driving and fighting his way for yardage. And in each game this year, he's been able to make the yardage inside, which has enabled Nate and the backs to move the ball on the outside. And so for 5 straight times, we scored touchdowns, and most of them 70 or 80-yard drives. And I think it's just the fact that our offense had reached the point of proper execution by the quarterback and all the backs and the linemen.
Backup quarterback Rob Healy guided the Black Knights to 3 touchdowns, and Army scored 48 points against Ivy League champion Penn. Needless to say, homecoming was a huge success. Following a loss at Syracuse, Army returned home to play the first night game ever at Michie Stadium. In front of a national TV audience, Air Force was the initial hurdle in returning the Commander-in-Chief's trophy to West Point. Defensive end Kurt Gutierrez took the first step, putting 2 points on the board with a safety. But if this Saturday night belonged to anyone, it was junior place kicker Craig Stopa, on the road to becoming Army's all-time field goal kicker and ECAC Offensive Player of the Week. The toe of Stopa wasn't Army's only weapon. There was also the razzle-dazzle of the wishbone. Scott Spellman's 41-yard dash surprised the Air Force, as the cadets showed not only could they run the wishbone, but they could stop it as well. Army's barbed wire defense totally stymied the bull-bound Falcons option game. And senior linebacker Jim Gentile, number 55, was honored as ECAC Defensive Player of the Week.
A linebacker playing against the wishbone has a hard time, because they do have the backs cutting you, and it's hard to make a lot of tackles. But I felt I did well, and I felt John Roney, the other linebacker, did really well. And it was a great game to win, and it kept on the winning tradition here at West Point.
A leaping interception spoiled Air Force's final effort. And a record-setting 5 field goals by Craig Stopa proved the difference.
To set a record is just a great thrill. It's just participating and playing and representing Army on the football field with the great tradition that it has fills you with a great sense of pride. And then to go above that and actually set some records, it's just an indescribable thrill.
was no question in anyone's mind. Army football was winning again, as the cadets were assured of their best record in 7 years. At Boston College, Heisman Trophy winner Doug Flutie wasn't the only sparkling quarterback on the field, as Nate Sassaman, playing with 3 cracked ribs, led Army to 31 points against the Cotton Bowl-bound Eagles. Senior halfback Jarvis Hollingsworth passed for 1 score and swept in for another. But the offense of the top 10 ranked Eagles simply outlasted the cadets, and Army took only its 3rd loss of an outstanding year. On November 12th, the cadets embarked on the longest journey in Army football history. 7,500 miles to Japan, and their first ever game against Montana in the Mirage Bowl. There were games and studies along the way. But most important was the opportunity for the cadets to visit a foreign culture.
I think as this trip began to develop and the whole concept of it began to develop, we really believed that an opportunity for our team to go to Japan, to go any foreign country, would be good for us recruiting-wise, an attraction, an extra attraction for young high school football players to have such an experience. And I think now that we're here, that our hopes have been borne out. It's been a great experience for our young people, a chance to mix with another culture, to see another country, to see how things are done here, has just been a great thing for them to be able to look back on.
Some 60,000 fans came to the Mirage Bowl and watched in amazement as the Army offense rushed for a school record 628 yards. Four Army backs, Sassaman, Black, Hollingsworth, and Clarence Jones, gained over 100 yards each. Only the 4th time that has happened in college football history. Most valuable player in the game, Sassaman conducted a wishbone clinic, faking hard to the fullback, committing the defense to him, and then pitching to Jones for a spectacular 78-yard touchdown. The increased emphasis on strength training and a new dietary supplement program instituted by Jim Young were paying rewards as Army enjoyed its biggest display of offense in the team's 95-year history. Doug Black's touchdown clinched the victory as Army scored 45 points, set 6 school records, and made the once-in-a-lifetime trip to Japan a very memorable experience. Army came home with the first postseason bowl invitation in school history. But this unbelievable year, this rebirth of winning ways at West Point, would not be complete without a return visit to the city of Philadelphia and a piece of unfinished business.
To beat Navy, that would really climax our season, you know, because the seniors have really pulled together and led us through the year, and to beat Navy, you know, in a game that the military academy and the Army as a whole, it would really mean a lot to our season.
We've had a great season so far, and to beat Navy would just be the icing on the cake.
But this one here would just make the season perfect.
To beat Navy would be a big climax for this team, and probably for the academy too. It's a big game, and we're going to go out and give it our best shot.
For the 85th time, Army and Navy in a rivalry second to none. A rivalry that encompasses the world. As they had done all season, The cadet offensive line established control in the combat zone, and Army methodically marched 80 yards on its first possession. This was the top rushing offense in college football, and they were beginning to paint one of the greatest days in Army gridiron history.
Sassaman has Black the fullback, Hollingsworth and Jones at the halfback slot. At the Navy 6-yard line. Big call on a crossbar. They pitch back to Jones. Jones, the 5, touchdown, Jones goes into the 6.
And that touchdown gave the cadets their first lead over the mids after some 25 quarters of Army-Navy football.
Yeah! Way to go, man! Way to go, man!
With Sassaman reading the flaws in the Navy defense, Army relentlessly paraded another 71 yards. And Doug Black, on his way to becoming a 1,000-yard runner, rode a blast of second effort into the end zone. After 2 time-consuming drives, Army had 2 touchdowns. A capacity crowd of more than 73,000 watched Army's goat-buster defense wipe out each and every Navy threat, with men like McKelvey, Gutierrez, Gentili, and Marty Baptiste adding their names to Army tradition. The most important turnaround came late in the first half. A splendid blindside hit by Kermit McKelvey stripped the ball, allowing Eric Griffin to recover in the end zone. After 30 minutes, Army was in command, 14-3. And Lieutenant General Willard W. Scott, Jr., Academy Superintendent, took great pride in the team's success. A second-half turnover gave the cadets possession when Doug Pavick jarred the ball loose, and Jim Gentili recovered. It didn't take Sassaman long to convert the Navy mistake into Army points. Before the day was complete, Sassaman would join Black as a 1,000-yard runner and would become the first major college quarterback to rush for over 1,000 yards in a season since Oklahoma's Jack Mildred in 1971. So dominant was the wishbone that Army ran a total of 89 plays and failed to gain on only 2 of them. Sassaman's second touchdown clinched most valuable player honors for him, and this proud senior-led group of cadets enjoyed their best offensive showing against Navy since 1949. A tribute not only to the runners, but to the offensive line as well.
Get that look in your eye and let's keep the pressure on him. All right, good job. Stay low, keep your splits wide, and play these last 14-10 like we really got something to pay those guys back with. Come on, let's go.
Before Army savored a victory over Navy, Doug Black overtook Charlie Jarvis as the cadets' single-season rushing leader. And that mule-tough Army defense stopped the mids cold. As Army fans celebrated a cherished victory over Navy and prepared for their first bowl game in history, they would long remember 1984 as the year Jim Young dared to be different. He installed a new offense and turned it into the #1 rushing attack in all of college football. He took 2 unused backs and made them Army's 4th and 5th 1,000-yard runners ever. He took a squad that had not beaten Navy in 7 years and returned the Commander-in-Chief's trophy to West Point. But perhaps Jim Young's most important accomplishment was that he brought this group of young men together. And as a team, they achieved what no one thought was possible.
The feeling that you have in doing what was the impossible at the start will be something that will stick with me for the rest of my life, and for you men who are going to be in a lot of different circumstances throughout your life, but you found out what it takes to do the so-called impossible, and you guys did it this year. You did it. And I am proud as hell of each one of you. This is the greatest team I've ever coached, and I'm the proudest of this team.
Yes, in 1984, football was fun at the Academy. For Jim Young had made Army a winner again. For Army football, the success story that was the '84 season took final root on November 3rd in the first night game ever played at Michie Stadium. Kicker Craig Stopa connected on 5 field goals against Air Force, setting an all-time Army record, while split end Scott Spellman caught the Falcons off guard, scoring from 40 yards on a reverse, as Army went on to defeat Air Force 24-12. A few weeks later in Veterans Stadium, Philadelphia, Army's potent wishbone offense would not be denied, scoring 2 touchdowns on their first 2 possessions against the Naval Academy. Fullback Doug Black became Army's all-time single-season rushing leader, accumulating over 1,100 yards, while quarterback Nate Sassaman also went over the 1,000-yard mark, as the cadets rolled over the midshipmen 28-11. For Army, their victories over Air Force and Navy meant the return of the coveted Commander-in-Chief's trophy to West Point, a trophy emblematic of football supremacy among the academies. But for head coach Jim Young and the cadets, the best was still to come, as Army prepared for their first bowl appearance in Academy history. The Silver Dome in Pontiac, Michigan, where over 70,000 witnessed the cadets of Army take on the Spartans of Michigan State in the first annual Cherry Bowl. For athletic director Carl Ulrich, Army's participation in a bowl game was a goal strived for since arriving at West Point.
Cherry Bowl, really any bowl, but the Cherry Bowl, I guess, particularly because it's the initial bowl for the Cherry Bowl and for Army, was one of the dreams and goals that we had for this program right from the very beginning. When I arrived, and then again when Jim Young arrived, why we knew that this was one of the things that we had to achieve.
Although well known for his ability in turning programs around, even Superintendent General Willard Scott Jr. was amazed at the leadership displayed by head coach Jim Young.
You know, we've done a study on what are the attributes of successful military leaders. And you know, as you look at them, of being the individual that obviously is in charge, he's at the right place, that never thinks of defeat. Coach Young exemplifies every one of them. I'm amazed that football has all those traits that are very much part of being a leader. He's a great, great leader.
With a running attack that averaged 336 yards a contest in '84, the cadets brought to college football's newest bowl game the nation's top rushing offense. While defensively, Army time and again made the key play that would deny the opposition entrance in their end zone. All told, it was a year of achievement for cadet football, highlighted by their first ever bowl appearance, giving Army a successful second season. Determined to return to West Point with a victory, the cadets arrived in Pontiac a week before kickoff in preparation for their battle against Michigan State. Daily practice sessions were held inside the spacious Silverdome, where the players loosened up in the comfort of 70-degree temperatures, while fine-tuning the precision instrument that is Coach Young's wishbone offense. But the cadets soon discovered that a trip to a bowl game would not be all work and no play. Among the many activities enjoyed by the cadets during their stay in Pontiac was a visit to historic Greenfield Village, the home of the Henry Ford Museum.
One of the rules is the car must be 20 years old to be put on the floor of the museum.
On the eve of the game, the cadets as well as the Spartans were the guests of honor at a luncheon sponsored by the Cherry Bowl Committee. Here, senior cadet Eric Griffin, along with Coach Young, took the opportunity to express their feelings on participating in Army's first postseason bowl game.
But we feel that the opportunity to play in the first annual Cherry Bowl game and to play in a great facility like the Silverdome is the greatest thrill that we've achieved this year. We hope that Saturday, when we go out on the field against Michigan State, that we can do everything in our power to make the Cherry Bowl game not only the first Cherry Bowl game, but the best bowl game in the 84-85 football season.
This has been a most enjoyable year for all of us at West Point. I'd have to say that this is the most enjoyable year of coaching that I've had in the last 20 years. To see a team come along as our team has come along. You know, we started out with really two things that we said we needed in order to be successful. We had to have belief in ourselves, belief that we would win, and then we had to put it into action.
And for a fired-up Army squad, that opportunity came the following afternoon, where a crowd of 70,000 plus packed the Silverdome for the start of the 1984 Cherry Bowl. Right from the onset, the cadets unleashed an aggressive defense that would frustrate the Spartans throughout the game. Early in the second quarter, defensive back Kermit McKelvey turned back a Spartan drive with an interception in the end zone that kept the game scoreless. The cadet defense then combined a fierce pass rush along with outstanding secondary coverage that would result in yet another Spartan turnover. Taking over just shy of midfield, Army's offense began to get on track. Doug Black picked up 4 tough yards for the cadets, while Nate Sassman broke free over the right side for 12 of the 136 yards he would gain on the day. Clarence Jones then put the cadets inside the Spartan 5, where 2 plays later, Jones received the honor of scoring Army's first postseason touchdown to give the cadets a 7-0 halftime lead. In the third quarter, the defense was still going strong, with defensive back Doug Pavick picking off a Spartan pass for his second interception of the game. Late in the same quarter, Michigan State committed their 4th turnover of the game, giving Army the ball on their own 21. Here the Spartans fell victim to Coach Young's relentless wishbone attack, as the cadets drove 59 yards in 15 plays that would take nearly 7.5 minutes to complete. Engineering the drive was quarterback Nate Sassman, who went on to receive the Most Valuable Player award for the 3rd consecutive game. Craig Stopa finished off the drive with a 38-yard field goal, giving Army a 10-point advantage. But late in the fourth quarter, a cadet turnover resulted in a Spartan touchdown. And with just over a minute remaining, Michigan State saw their hopes of a last-minute victory shattered when strong safety Bob Silver batted away a Spartan pass on 4th and 2, sealing an Army victory. Just 2 years, Coach Young had accomplished what no other head coach in Army's history had been able to achieve. An accomplishment the cadets responded to with 4 heartfelt words for a coach they loved and respected.
There's some things I got to say here at the end of this season, because this was the greatest group of men that have ever been around. They came farther in every challenge. This was a tough challenge to go out and beat this team with all the things that went on and all that. And it was a hell of an effort by every man connected with it. Now I want to say things to really 3 groups. Number 1, the defense. The defense went out there and stuffed that team, roiced them, sacked them, defended, made great. The second group is the seniors. 3 men in the senior class. You provided the leadership for it. There's no, in my mind, there's no question that you guys rose up time and time again, and I know you're going to have great careers in the Army. There's one more group. Getting here was a tough, hard battle. The seniors are leaving. They've got other battles to go to. But you men that are underclassmen, you have a great challenge, because it isn't going to be easy to win next year. It's never easy. You men have got a great challenge in the fall, in the winter, in the summer. And don't ever forget it. And we need a new senior class coming forth with the leadership like this one was. It's a great challenge to us. Last year when we were 2-9 men, after the season, we never talked about that season other than what we could learn from it. It's going to be the same thing with this season. I'm not going to dwell on this season other than what we learned from it, what the good points were and so forth. We move on ahead. But today we don't move ahead. We celebrate.
After the celebration came the award ceremony, where Cherry Bowl President Tom Martin presented the cadets with their victory trophy.
When we went about identifying an appropriate trophy for this game, we wanted to be again unique in our activities. So we went out and had this piece sculptured for us. This is the only piece available. It is registered as a trophy, and this trophy has been titled Relentless Pursuit. And gentlemen, that's what you evidenced out there this afternoon, and it gives me great pleasure to provide and present this trophy to the United States Military Academy for their very first victory in the Cherry Bowl. Hey.
Undoubtedly, for Army football, the '84 season will forever be remembered as a year of achievement. A year where the cadets rebounded from a previous 2-9 record to establish a highly impressive 8-3-1 mark in '84. A year that brought the Commander-in-Chief's trophy back to West Point with decisive wins over Air Force and Navy. But above all, it was a year the Military Academy made their first ever postseason bowl appearance, a victorious one, defeating Michigan State 10-6 in college football's debut of the Cherry Bowl. Army football in '85 was a hard-hitting, big-play experience. While some wondered if the cadets could match '84's outstanding performance, the Black Knights quickly quelled all doubts. Again, among the NCAA's leaders in several offensive categories, the continued Army resurgence to national prominence has made it one of the winningest programs of the past 2 seasons. The explosive Army attack was based on a denying defense and combined with a rushing offense second only to that of Nebraska. Spirit, determination, and desire to excel were hallmarks of the '85 season. Coach Jim Young's wishbone attack produced 33 points a game. But more than that, the season of '85 produced successful leaders, exemplifying the best in Army tradition. For Army football, the winning continues. Following the success of '84 was quite a challenge for the cadets. Many key positions would be filled by new men eager to take that challenge. True, there were large shoes to fill, but the '85 edition of the Black Knights were willing to pay the price for victory. That price included time invested during August in preseason workouts at Camp Buckner. Dedication, discipline, and selflessness, the qualities of a good football player and the qualities of a successful person were learned and sharpened on the practice fields.
Good block.
General Willard Scott, superintendent of West Point, brought some of the Army goals into perspective.
In the old days in Warriors, you know, you picked your champion, and out went David to take on Goliath. We picked you as our champions. Why do we think athletics is so important? All the virtues that the soldier has to have, you learn in this business you're involved in. It takes the full group on the field, and those that support them, you have to be committed. You have to put out. You've got to persevere. You are a cadet first. That's the gray you wear. You're an athlete at great sacrifice. Above that, work on each other. Give the encouragement. Have at it. You don't need luck. Have a great year. Thank you very much.
Jim Young had set the foundation of success coming off an 8-3-1 season, a bowl victory, and a #1 ranked rushing offense. But that was just the beginning. Quarterback Rob Healy knows of Coach Young's ability to succeed.
I think that Coach Young has earned the respect of the entire team, along with the entire West Point community. He's taken a program that was down over the past years and turned it around and made us and made the academy in general feel like we're on the winning upswing, on the winning trend. And Coach Young has done that in a lot of ways, but the one thing he's done all the way through is set the example himself. And I think that the individuals at West Point on the team look up to that and respect that.
Respect is a key word to Army football. As the season began in the friendly confines of Mikey Stadium, one of the season's goals was to gain the respect of all its opponents and doubters. The first challenge for the cadets was Western Michigan, and the Knights quickly showed they were ready to play and right on target. Taking less than 4 minutes to get on the board, senior quarterback Rob Healy teamed with junior Clarence Jones on a Bronco-busting 78-yard touchdown run. The Army defense proved itself, coming up with 4 Western Michigan fumbles and 2 interceptions. Linebacker Dave Shire totaled 10 tackles, with senior Kurt Gutierrez a close second. 5 of the 6 turnovers created by the defense were converted into Army touchdowns. Bill Lampley took a pitch in from 15 yards out, while senior standout Doug Black, taking up where he left off as a 1,000-yard gainer last year, accounted for a 32-yard score, contributing to the 48-6 win, the largest opening game victory margin in 30 years. Coming off a tie with third-ranked Florida the week before, the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers were the next test. Down 7-0 in the first period, Army quickly retaliated with a 68-yard drive, the big play being a 26-yard Healy to Benny White area. The right side of the offensive line, Don Smith, Joe Manousa, and Rob Dickerson cleared out the Rutgers D for Rob Healy to tie the score. Again asserting itself, the Army defense, led by the charge of John Thompson, blocked a punt. The maddening rush for the elusive pigskin nearly resulted in another touchdown before rolling across the end line for a 2-point safety. The swarming defense shut down the Scarlet ground game, limiting them to just 31 yards after their first scoring drive. Particularly effective was number 90, Dave Shire, totaling 16 tackles and named as the ECAC Division 1A Defensive Player of the Week. Still, Rutgers took a 13-12 lead, and for the second time, the Cadets came back. With time running out in the third quarter, Healy directed his team on the ground and through the air towards the go-ahead score. Halfback Bill Lampley took the pitch the final 10 yards. Leading 20-16, it was up to the defense to preserve the victory. The likes of Tom Malloy, Matt Buckner, Larry Biggins, and Doug Pavick did just that, extending Army's winning streak to the longest in 16 years. Following close on the heels of Hurricane Gloria, the Army offensive unit stormed defending Ivy League champion, the University of Pennsylvania, for 525 total yards, 450 via the wishbone rushing route. All East fullback Doug Black led the ground assault with 120 yards, while Clarence Jones scored twice, with Lampley, Healy, and reserve quarterback Torrey Crawford each getting a TD in the 41-3 triumph. Defensively, Penn was able to cross midfield only 3 times. Allowing just a field goal, the Cadet defense stretched their string of quarters without giving up a rushing touchdown to 20, including the end of last season. Senior co-captain Don Smith, the anchor of the offensive line, sought out and accepted the challenge of being an Army student athlete.
West Point has a lot of heritage here, a lot of tradition, and that's what I was looking for. I was looking for a big challenge, something that would challenge me intellectually and as a person, and again, it gave me the opportunity to play football. The thing I've learned from West Point is how to be disciplined. I'm able to discipline myself, and that's the first thing you got to do. You can't expect to discipline anybody else if you're not disciplining yourself. They're going to follow you, and what you do, they're going to do.
Representing the best in the Army tradition, Smith, a Dean's List student and regimental commander, earned Kodak All-America First Team honors by season's end. Boasting its most prolific offensive start in 30 years, the Army offensive juggernaut continued its onslaught against Yale. Amassing 59 points against the Elis, the total was the most ever scored against the Yale team in the 1,005 games since football began there in 1872. Currently ranked 4th nationally in defense against scoring, the Army defense again allowed no rushing touchdowns and yielded just 2 through the air, thanks to the efforts of Lloyd Walker, Kurt Gutierrez, Reggie Fullwood, John Thompson, and others. Craig Stopa set a new Army and Mikey Stadium standard with this 53-yard effort. By season's end, Stopa would lead the Cadets in scoring for the 4th straight year, established the NCAA accuracy record between 40 and 49 yards, and owns 7 Army kicking records. Doug Black again topped the Army running game, totaling 122 yards on just 15 carries. Backup quarterback Torrey Crawford ran for 1 score and passed for a second to Scott Spellman. And senior Kevin McKelvey's effort all contributed to the 59-14 triumph. Playing before a national television audience, the Cadets faced the highly potent passing attack of Boston College, the 1985 Cotton Bowl champs. Jim Brock, Bob Kleinhampel, Darrell Londo, and the other defensive regulars caged the Eagles effectively, denying the end zone. Managing only 48 yards rushing on 30 carries, the Eagles were forced to the air 40 times. Meanwhile, the offense was again rolling up yardage. Doug Black rambled for a season-high 158 yards. And Torrey Crawford, making his first start in place of the injured Rob Healy, generaled the nearly flawless Cadet offense. An alert Army defense intercepted 3 passes, this one through the efforts of Darrell Londo and the sure hands of Bill Sanders. Converting the turnover into a touchdown, Clarence Jones scored his first of 3 for the night, on his way to a 103-yard performance. Torrey Crawford's 3-touchdown, 131-yard output earned him recognition as the ECAC's Offensive Player of the Week. The win extended Army's victory string to 8, the longest since 1950, and led to an AP ranking of 19th in the country. Heading into the game with Notre Dame, the Cadets were ranked number 1 nationally in rushing, were 2nd in scoring average, and 10th in total offense. But the Irish held them to season lows in all 3 categories. The major bright spot being a 2-play drive ending with a Lampley touchdown that cut the Notre Dame advantage to 7. In a game of inches, 2 key plays that could have changed the entire complexion of the game fell just short. First, betrayed by a sideline. And then by the touch of a knee before the pitch. Both 4th down attempts. The Cadets drew to within 4, but it was Notre Dame that controlled the ball. Even though frustrated, the determined effort of a committed Army team continued. Colgate was the homecoming opponent as the Black Knights returned to the friendly banks of the Hudson. Following a 40-yard Stopa field goal, Doug Pavick put the offense back into business with his 4th interception of the season. Rob Healy, back from a rib injury, showed no ill effects as he hit Scott Spellman in the flat for a 65-yard score. Then it was Torrey Crawford's turn. His 35-yard gain set up Clarence Jones's sprint into the end zone behind the blocks of Don Smith and AP All-East center Ron Rice. A crunching block by Doug Black, and Crawford's second effort gave Army a 24-0 advantage. defense was again hitting and swarming. Jones's second touchdown of the day and two short dives by Black and Healy led the Cadets to a 21-point bulge early in the last quarter. But then it was nail-biting time when, despite intense defensive pressure, the dormant Colgate passing game roared to life. Army maintained control and claimed its 6th win of the year. Another 40,000-plus Army faithful filled Mikey Stadium to back the Cadets against the Holy Cross Crusaders. It wasn't until halfway through the second quarter that a Torrey Crawford touchdown gave the Knights a slim 7-6 lead. The defense continued to shut down Crusader threats, and their pressure paid off when senior defensive back Matt Buckner broke through to block a punt and set up the first of two Doug Black 1-yard dives to pay dirt. Torrey Crawford's 134-yard output, including this fourth quarter touchdown, helped earn him his second ECAC Player of the Week selection, and more importantly, gave a 21-12 advantage over the mistake-plagued Crusaders. The final score of the day came on the final play of the day, when sophomore Andy Peterson broke loose for a 27-yard score following Doug Pavick's second interception of the game, boosting the Army record to 7-1. A major reason for Army's successful wishbone attack for the past 2 years is due to the play of number 32, Doug Black. A walk-on in 1984, all he did was set a new rushing record, surprising to some, but the result of determination, courage, and desire.
Doug is a dedicated, tough, all-out individual in anything he does. He's one of the top students here at the Academy. He's a potential Rhodes Scholarship candidate. On the football field and on the practice field, there's no difference. Every play is everything that he's got, and I think that's his great ability, but the determination that he has is outstanding.
I went back and did a lot of work to get myself, bigger and faster, and just a lot of determination. I didn't really give up when they said I couldn't play here, and I came back out and showed them I could play.
With 1,023 yards, including the Peach Bowl, the man who wasn't big enough or fast enough became the only Army back to twice gain over 1,000 yards. The Falcons of Air Force were flying high when they met the Cadets for the Battle of the Wishbone. But despite a few moments of glory, the day was one when the Falcons could do little wrong, while Army could do little right. The final home game of the season produced a flurry of offense that would literally bury the Memphis State Tigers. Despite the poor playing conditions, Rob Healy twice connected with tight end Rob Dickerson. The scoring toss good from 30 yards out. A hard-hitting Army defense refused to let the Tiger offense get on track, as they were held to only 55 yards rushing and were able to penetrate Army territory only 4 times all day. Rob Healy enjoyed the finest rushing performance of his career, rolling up 143 yards, including the longest run of the season, a 51-yarder. Healy closed out the scoring in the first half, plowing his way to a 21-0 lead. The Tigers continued to test the cadet defense that responded to the challenge. Carrying the ball only 3 times, Torrey Crawford scored twice and added to the season-high 536 yards of total offense, completely dominating the Tigers of Memphis State. Army versus Navy is a separate season, playing in front of 72,000, a national television audience, worldwide following, the pride of the service academies. All these immeasurable considerations have added up to the proven fact that previous records have meant little. Clarence Jones started this touchdown drive with a 61-yard kickoff return and ended it with this 10-yard sweep. High score, 7-7. The lines of battle were drawn. The Navy offense centered on its running game, a fact of which the Army defense was well aware. The normally productive wishbone moved the ball but couldn't push it across the goal line. Both defenses performed well. Halfway through the second period, the cadets were again driving. Healy completed a 30-yard pass to Rob Dickerson. Healy kept the ground game going. Jones got down to the 2. Fourth down. Healy on the keeper. No game. Navy held. But Army lost more than a scoring opportunity on the play as Rob Healy suffered a dislocated shoulder and was lost for the rest of the game. Navy managed 10 more points and victory over an outscored but not beaten Army team. While denied a win over Navy, the Black Knights of the Hudson could take solace in the fact that their 8-3 campaign resulted in an invitation to the 18th annual Peach Bowl to meet Big Ten power Illinois. Despite the disappointment of the moment, the season was not over. A new challenge awaited against the Fighting Illini. The city of Atlanta hosted the traditional Peach Bowl Classic and its week of festive activities for Army's 120-player travel squad. The weather was less than desirable, the rejuvenated Army football team was primed to produce another memorable performance. Often fate chooses to bring the unfamiliar into the limelight. On this day, Peel Chronister, number 33, seemed to be the one chosen. His first quarter interception started an offensive drive that culminated with Rob Healy's 22-yard touchdown run. Seven 0 Army. The defense kept Illinois at bay with plays like this Jim Brock sack until a second quarter passing assault gave the Illini a 10-7 lead. Thanks to a fumble recovery by All-East selection Doug Pavick and the ability of the running game to move the ball, Doug Black put the cadets back on top. 4 plays later, Chronister's second interception gave Army field position on the Illinois 35. Wasting little time, the Wishbone showed a new option when Bill Lampley completed a 33-yard touchdown toss to Benny White. In the third quarter, lightning struck again. This time it was Clarence Jones to Scott Spellman for a 28-23 go-ahead score. Fourth quarter action showed the Army defense again creating the big play when a Dave Shire hit caused a fumble that Jim Brock quickly recovered. Fittingly, Craig Stopa had the margin of victory resting on his well-proven kicking leg. His 39-yard field goal gave Army an important 8-point lead. Still, the Illini fought back, scoring on a last-minute desperation pass. They were in position to tie when Peel Chronister, playing the game of his life, broke up the conversion try. Army's defensive big plays overcame the Illinois record-setting passing attack and helped lead the Cadets to victory, marking the second consecutive bowl win over a Big Ten opponent.
They did this kind of rover twice. They bring a weak corner in the middle.
Army football in 1985 equaled its most wins in a single season with its 9-3 record.
Stay inside out, force him on the upfield shoulder.
It extended its unbeaten string at home to 12 games.
You make up your mind, you're going to stop them. That's how we got to play the whole game.
Scoring the most points of any Army team in the last 40 years, this season's scoring output was the third highest in Army football history. While this season's senior leadership will certainly be missed, a nucleus of experienced talent remains, and the outlook for '86 should prove an exciting challenge. All indications are that for Army football, the winning continues.